Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Hey, as you can see, my friend Trish here beside me, well, she has a new puppy, and I told her that I would make her a mug with her puppy on it with sublimation. So I'm going to sublimate it on this mug right here. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it step by step by step, starting with measuring how much space do you have to use on your mug. I'm going to use the Cricut Easy Press, or the Cricut Mug Press, and you'll just see how easy this is. I'll have some links down below to show you where I get my mugs and that kind of stuff. But let's get started with Trisha's mug. Okay, the first thing you'll need to know is how much room you have on your mug onto which you can sublimate. So like if I put my mug in here like this, notice it's not going to get heated even when I close this. Okay, it's not going to get totally heated all the way up to the handle or in between the handle, just so that you need to know that. Now if you're going to just make something that's going to be on the front or the back side of the mug, all you need to do is take a piece of ribbon, if you don't have a measuring tape, kind of get an idea of where you'd like that to be, maybe about that much. So then I would just take a ruler and measure this on my ruler and see that my design can be about 4 inches wide. It's going to go a little bit from side to side at 4 inches. So if I want it totally to just show on the front, maybe like that, which is more like 3.5 inches. So I can make it 3.5 inches wide, and from top to bottom, I don't want it to go all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom. So about there. So 3.5 by 3. Okay, so that's what I know I want to make my design. Also, some things that you'll need when you get ready to do this is isopropyl alcohol, and you're going to use that to clean off your mug. You'll also need the tape that is safe for the heat press. I get most of these things from Heat Press Nation. I'll have a link for you down below to see what I get. And you'll also need, of course, your sublimation paper and your sublimation printer that has special ink in it. You can't just use a regular printer. It has to be one that's filled with sublimation ink. Here's a picture of what my sublimation printer looks like. Okay, the next part can be done in any kind of software that you have, because you don't need a cutting machine. You can do it in your Silhouette software like I'm going to do. I could do it in Paint Shop Pro. I could do it in Adobe Photoshop. I could do it in my Cricut. The only disadvantage to doing it in the Cricut is if you're wanting to sublimate something really, really big, you're limited to the print size from Cricut, because it has to be a print from Cricut Design Space if you've designed it there. In Silhouette, on the other hand, I can make this any size I want to, because I can send anything, any size, to my printer as long as my printer can take it. Now that printer I showed you a picture of, that'll take 11 by 17 sheets of paper, so I could really print a pretty big poster or a pretty big item and sublimate that onto something. But for right now, the project we're going to do, it'll work in any of the softwares that I spoke of just a moment ago. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go File and Merge. And of course, if you're using Design Space, you'll just bring your image in. Okay, and as you can see, my picture of Trish comes in quite large. As a matter of fact, if you look up here, when I click on it, you can see that it's actually 27 inches wide by about 27 inches tall. So we know we don't want it to be anything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to crop off some of this stuff, because I don't think that she needs this junk right there in it. So I can just double click on this and drag these corners in to crop this. Or another thing I could do, and you can do this in Cricut Design Space as well, just get a box and draw out the box. Just put it over top of what you think you want in your design. And then in Cricut Design Space, I believe you hit slice, and then you're able to get things out. Here, what I'm going to do is grab both of these things, come over here to the Modify panel, and say crop. And that cropped out most of that junk. but I still see a little junk over here. So I think I'll make it even a little tiny bit smaller. So again, I could get another box. And again, if I were working in Cricut Design Space, I could grab both things and say slice. Remember, if you have two things, you can slice, but I'm going to crop. Much better. I love that a lot. Okay, let's see. I wonder if I should get any closer to the side. If I want to get a little closer to this side over here, again, I could do the same thing, crop or slice in Cricut Design Space, or I could get my knife here in Silhouette, hold down my Shift key and just draw a line here, double click when I'm done, and grab that right off of there, and I can delete it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see what the height is right now. Remember, we discovered that we wanted to make something that was maybe 3 inches tall. So let's leave this locked and make it the height of 3 inches, and let's see what it looks like with the width. So obviously this is my big 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper showing up here. So we need to scroll way in so we can see what this is going to look like. And you know what? Okay, so that is 3 inches tall, and it's only a little over 2 inches wide. So that's a little bit smaller or less square than I might like it to be. Okay, so I want to show you the beauty for me of working with Silhouette Studio. And it doesn't have to be the business edition if you're just printing something and cutting it with your scissors. So you can grab this and you can just use it like this. That's sort of cute, right? I mean, that'll look really nice on a mug, although I don't really care for the size of it. Let's see what else I've got here. Oh, I could do something like this. But let me show you what I ended up with. I ended up with this right here because I think this is super cute and I really like it. Now, I'm not sure, do you like the font being blue? I guess maybe it kind of goes with her blue jeans. Trish has on blue jeans. But anyway, I think it turned out super cute like this, and it's going to fill up more of the mug, 4 inches across, about 3 inches up and down. So in order to use this now for my mug, I am going to have to group it all together and right click and say flip horizontally. You can do the same thing in Cricut Design Space. And then the next thing that you'll do, and this will print in Cricut Design Space. It's not too big, so you could do something like this. So the next thing I would do is go to File and Print. And I have several printers, so I'm going to make sure that the one I use is my one that I have set up for sublimation. I have 2 of the same printers. This is my sublimation one. I'll click on that and say Preferences. And I've set up some preferences for mine. I have Sublimation New, Sublimation Newest, and all that means is on mine, I have it set up for plain paper, bright white paper. The quality is high and it's in color. So I'll say OK, apply, and print. So this is printing, and while it's printing, I'll show you how I was able to do this. Okay, I'll show you how to recreate this in Silhouette Studio. Again, you do not have to have a Silhouette cutter because you're not cutting anything, but you can design here and send it over to your printer, and you can actually send this to your Cricut cutter if you wanted to cut it. But you'd have to have the business edition to be able to do that, which I have a coupon code to save you 40% down below this video. But let's show how to do this. So the first thing that I would do, and by the way, those of you new to Silhouette, if you go to my website, PattyAnnesPlace.blog, and go to classes, I have lots of classes there that you'll want to start that kind of go in order for learning Silhouette Studio. So anyway, let's come up here to File and Merge, because I want to bring the same picture of Trish into this page so we can work on it. Okay, so I need to go to my downloads, and there's Trish. And notice she comes in very large. So I want to click on it and maybe make it about 10 inches with the locked. Let's take that again. 10 inches with the lock locked. Okay, maybe something like that to start. Okay, let's move it way, let's go way over here off the mat to work first. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a shape, and the shape I'm going to get is a heart. And you could do this part in Cricut Design Space as well, but I'm showing you some other things you may not be able to do. So I'm going to get the heart and draw a heart over top of Trish. Well, let's see, that's way too big because it's outside of the image. And for some reason I have it crooked a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's see. I can move this in a little bit like that. And if I want to see how it's looking, I actually could click on the heart and come over here to this paint palette on the right hand side. Click on that. And then where it says transparency right here, I can make that more transparent so I could see. Am I getting all her puppy? Almost. There we go. Just about. Just one little foot's missing. Maybe we can make it a little bit wider to get that little foot in there. There we go. So I've got his foot. And so now what I'm going to do is I can actually click on this and, well, I'm not going to do that yet. So let's just leave it like this first. And play around just a little bit. All right, well, I'm not quite getting his foot, but we're going to fix that in a sec. So now I'm going to grab both of these things, going to come over here to this palette that says the Modify panel. I'm going to say crop. And that crop that image to exactly the size or the shape I wanted. Now what I'm going to do is I don't like how this is right here. So notice when I double click on this, I get this little pointy, this little box here. If I click on that, I'm able to move this up a little bit like that and change the shape of my heart. And let's scroll out and see if it kind of made it funky looking. That still looks pretty good actually. So then the next thing I did was I came over here and I got a rectangle, drew it any size. But we know we want our rectangle on our mug to be, and I'm going to unlock the lock, we want it to be 4 inches wide, so hit enter. And we want it to be 3 inches tall. So that's how big it's got to be. So this little image of Trish and her puppy, so it went behind this as you see. So I'm going to right click and say, bring it to the front. There we go. So I can make it a lot bigger. Probably about there. Because I am going to put text underneath of it too. So the next thing I wanted to do, and I want you to see over here if you can tell, there's a blank white spot around this heart where there's no dog prints, right? Well, it's very easy to do that. So what I did was, let me go ahead and grab this one, hold down my Alt key and duplicate this, or right click and say duplicate, bring this one over. I'm going to grab this one now and I'm going to offset it. So come way over here to the offset panel and offset. And I'll leave the offset at a point, a 0.90. So I'll drag this picture out, and with this offset now selected, I think I'll go ahead and make that be in the center. Okay. With the offset now selected and the box, I'm going to come over here again to the Modify panel and say Subtract. And that subtracted the whole right out of there. So now when I put Trish's picture back in here, notice there's going to be a space around it. And so I could do it just like that. But as you saw on mine over here, I put some puppy dog paw prints. So where I got those was right here. I love Creative Fabrica. I'll have a link for you for it down below. You can get it for $1 for a month and then cancel it anytime. And everything you purchase is yours to keep. So I found these puppy patterns, I downloaded them and they were right here, and then I unzipped them so they would be usable. So once they were unzipped, I came up here to File again and Merge. Here they are. This is the way they come in at first, zipped up with a zipper. After you unzip it, the file folder looks like this. And this is what you can use. So I'll double click on that to open it. And if your images don't show up this big, and you're using Windows, you can simply right-click any area of the blank here and say View, and I have mine set to extra large icons, so I can really see what everything is and be able to choose things easily. So I believe the one I chose was this one right here. As you can see, I could have chosen this one, any one, but I chose this one, so I'll say OK. And it's going to come in really big also. Now there's another secret trick to using this software. If I want to change this blue color and have it have these puppy paws on it, all I have to do is click this, come down here to the Transfer Properties eyedropper, click on that, and then click on the properties I want to transfer, which is what's here in this square. Perfect, just like that. So I can get rid of this big sheet now. Let's scroll in and see how this looks. Okay, it looks pretty good, but I think my puppy paws were smaller on my other one. So we can easily change that in this software as well. So with this selected, I'll come over here again to the paint palette. And the third thing over, let's move way over so this other stuff isn't confusing. Here we are, and we're going to come to the fill. Remember, we got it right up here at the paint palette. The third icon over, if you hover over it, it says fill pattern. I'm going to click on that. Once I click on it, it's going to allow me to pan the pattern, change the angle of the pattern, mirror it, change its transparency, or make it larger or smaller by scale. So first I'll pan it. Click on that, and notice I get this little four-headed arrow here, which allows me to pan or move the pattern around. Okay. Now the other thing I can do, like I said, is come here to scale. I can make it much larger, or I can make the scale much smaller, whichever way I like it. So I think I'll leave it like that. So the next thing that I'll do is I'll just put Trisha's picture back in here and group it all together. And then at the very bottom, I had me and my BFF, I think. Let's double check. Let's get rid of this. Yes, me and my BFF. So the first thing that I did decide to do was I went ahead and used my eraser tool and got rid of some of these darker pieces. Now it's showing gray behind there, but it's just going to, it's not going to print. It's going to be just white. So I'll show you in a sec. So if I come over here to the text, type in me and my BFF. Okay. And I don't remember which font I used, but guess what? I can do that same trick that I showed you a minute ago. If I don't remember what font it is, I can click on this, come over here to the Transfer Properties eyedropper, and click on this. And there it changed it to the same exact font, which is perfect. Even the same color. So I put it like this. All right, so now let's group all of this together and move it over here. Let's see, it's 4 inches wide, a little over 3 inches tall. Looks perfect to me. And this time I'm going to right click and say, you know, like we did before, flip horizontally. Whenever you're doing sublimation and there's text on it or whatever, you need to make sure that you flip it horizontally so it works. So now let's go back and see what we've got printed. Okay, here's the printout, and I actually did it twice in case I'm going to put another one on the other side of the mug, or in case maybe Trish might want one to put on something else. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these apart. And I like to use my rotary cutter because it makes a nice straight edge for me to use when I'm lining this up on the cup. So I'll just cut one part. Okay, there is this. And now I've got my mug handy. Let's see, that's going to fit. Now, you got to think about which side you want to put it on. I'm going to put it on the outside, assuming that Trish is right-handed, so that people, when she's talking, can see her lovely face and her puppy. So I'm going to get my isopropyl alcohol, move this out of the way so I don't, it's getting anything on it, and clean this off. And now I'm going to tape this onto here. So I like to get an idea. Let's make sure it's not wet. And I'm going to put it like this. And you can kind of see through this paper a little bit to see how it's going to work. And see, since my lines are nice and straight, I can tell that my design's going to be very straight as well. So I'll use this tape. You cannot use regular Scotch tape. That would melt and probably burn and just make a total mess of everything. So I want to make sure that when I do this, I kind of fold this or push this down so there's no wrinkles or anything in it, and make sure that this lip is exactly even here. Put another piece there. And then once I've done that, I can go around and put a few more pieces on to make sure that nothing shifts. Because if it shifts, that's when you might get some ghosting. And ghosting means double images, like you're seeing double. Okay, looks pretty good. I see a little thing flapping in the breeze over here, which might be a cause of ghosting. That's good. Everything looks really good. I could put a piece up here just for safekeeping, and maybe one down at the bottom. All right, so I'll bring my Cricut mug press back over, and I don't put anything around mine. I know a lot of people do, but knock on wood, I haven't had any problem with mine. Maybe it's the type of paper that I use, but I'm just going to stick this down in here carefully. Try not to shift it around. Push this down. And now what's happening is this first light is lighting and blinking. As soon as that's done, it'll go to this one. And when all of them are done being lit up, it'll beep for me and I'll know it's finished, and I'll meet you back here then. Okay, the timer went off and I needed to take this out quickly and remove this paper from my image. And there is how Trish's very cute mug turned out. I love it. It's so adorable. Okay, as promised, I wanted to show you how to take this over into Cricut Design Space after you design things easy peasy here in Silhouette. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to go to File, Save Selection, save it to my hard drive. But before I save it, I've got to look here and see what the width is, because I want to make it the exact same thing over in Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to name this 4.00 because that's its width. Trish for Cricut. Now I'm not going to save it as a Silhouette file because I'm going to use it in my Cricut, so I'm going to save it as a JPEG. You will not be able to do that unless you have the business edition. Again, I have a code for you down below. So I'll say OK, and I'm going to change this, or I'll leave this at 150 and say save. Then I'm going to open up Cricut Design Space, and as you'll see, I already have it here, but I'm going to do it again for you. So I'll say upload, upload an image, browse, and I've got to see, where is it? Here it is, 4.00 Trish for Cricut. So I'm going to say open. Here it is. I'll say complex, continue, and whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Undo. I'm just going to just going to say apply and continue. It's going to be a print then cut, so I'll say upload. And then I'm going to bring it into Cricut, add it to my canvas. All right, and then it's going to come in like this. So we're going to look and see. Well, right now the width is pretty close, but I'm going to change it so it's exactly what I said I want it to be up here, 4. So I'm going to, with the lock, just change this to 4.00 and hit enter, and it changes it just a little bit. And then I can just say make it, and it's going to be a print then cut. Obviously it's going to just, but we don't really need to print then cut it. We're just going to print it. So we would say continue, and then we would send it to the printer, and that's it. And then you could do just like I did with a cutter, just cut it out and use it on your mug. So that's how easy it is to design things in Silhouette, because I feel like you have so much more flexibility here of things you can do, and then just save it as a JPEG over into Cricut Design Space and use it there. So I hope you like my videos. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and please hit the bell so you're notified when I go live or when I upload new videos. Thanks again. Check out my links down below. I'll see you again soon. Bye.